I think a lot of people in general are just used to being disrespected. I think that disrespect has been normalized, and a lot of people, instead of sticking up for themselves, say, well, if I don't say anything, this will afford me this, this, and this. I don't give a fuck what the perk is. If you disrespect me, you're not connected to me. It's very simple. Be a good human. Be a kind human. Don't bother people that aren't bothering you, you know? I think my biggest one is like, it is so much energy to go out of your way to try to harm another person for whatever reason. It takes so much energy. Hello. Happy New Year. It is 2026. That's really crazy because my grandmother passed away in 2006. That means she's been gone for 20 years. To which I said out loud last night, do you see how shitty the world is? Do you see what happened when you died on us? How dare you do this to us? Look at what happened when you left. So if y'all want to just blame my Grammy with me, I'm doing that all day. That's a way to honor her. She passed away on the 1st, and I said to my papa, I said, do you want to go to dinner and just talk about her? We can honor her. We don't normally do this on the 1st, and I think that maybe we should have made this a thing now that we don't both cry when we talk about her. Do you want to do that? And so he was like, is there anything even open today? And I'm like, that's a good question. Do you want to go tomorrow and celebrate today? And he said, yeah. So I said, okay. So yeah, 2026. It's been 20 years since my grandma passed. It's crazy. So a lot of stuff happened in 2025. I didn't have exact plans on how things would play out. I knew that I wanted to start shooting. I had no idea where that was going to come from. I didn't really have connections like other models and stuff either. So it's interesting to think that January last year, I was pretty much in the same spot where I am now. Like, what's going to happen? Like, where are things going to go? And then by February, I had started shooting models. And now by December, I have technically more publications than this, but the ones that went live, I'm going to say that because people are like, oh, she said she had this many publications. I'm like, well, a lot of them haven't gone live yet. They hold those for a while. So I had 17 publications that went live between the time of February to December 2025. And this was my first year as a photographer. I've been a model for 20 plus years, learning how to take a good photo for like over 20 years. I mean, if you really shrink it down into just one statement, I was learning how to take a really good photo from like 20 years. And that transferred over into my photography as a kind of just a blind knowing. I started blindly knowing that whatever I shot was going to be good. It's going to be killer. It's going to be amazing. And the thing that kind of took it over that chapter, that goal, I guess I would say, not chapter, is I was having fun. Just everything I did, I was having fun. I was excited to meet with models. I was excited to shoot. I was excited to go try different destinations. It was just life became fun again. And I think the big reason for that is in April, this was before I started my channel. In April, I did a podcast and I finally openly shared with the world everything that I've been struggling with, because for so long I had this forward facing persona of mindset and, law of attraction, and you can make your world whatever you want it to become. But I hadn't shared that like shadowed aspect of myself, which is I'm illegally kept from my child. I'm not able to see my child. The narrative behind that is she doesn't want to see her child, while simultaneously, I have to be careful about how I talk about this. So it wasn't that I abandoned my child. I left my child's father, and to punish me for that, I have been illegally kept from my child. And I say illegally because the parenting agreement has never changed. I'm supposed to see my child every other weekend, and we're supposed to take turns on holidays. That has never been followed. Turns out you need money for a lawyer, okay? And if someone is constantly getting your work removed off of line, how are you going to fight for a lawyer? So I got off topic with that. I say all this to say, when I initially did that first podcast, it was to tell my truth. It was to stop holding up a facade of what I thought people wanted to see and know, and just be who I am. This is the truth. This is what I've been dealing with. This is where I'm at mentally because of it. And it fucking sucks. And so I haven't put out a podcast since then, since last year. Again, that podcast really hasn't been updated at all, but I keep it up because the videos that I did might help somebody. So I just keep it up. But after I did that first video, it was like 2 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, that my kiddo showed up at my place. I have a really hard time believing that it was of his own accord. Based on patterns. It's not, I think it's this, it's patterns. And I'm incapable of not clocking patterns. Like I can't not see them. And so when I recognized the pattern, I went, wow, that's rough. That's a really fucked up pattern. That's something I never would have done. I would have never done many of the things, the choices have been done. I'm a better person than that. I'm better than them. I'm going to say that vocally. I'm going to vocally say I am better than people who act like this because I would never do that shit ever. So imagine keeping all of this inside while also simultaneously trying to build a business, a mindset business, and having people attack your business, talking about your personal life on a public platform when you're not ready to vocalize it. Those people took the control I had and they took it from me. So the one thing I wasn't going to do this time around was allow anybody to come in with the narrative. I'm going to tell the whole story. The whole truth, not just the tip that makes somebody look like a victim and me look like the villain. I'm gonna tell the whole fucking iceberg. We're gonna see why the Titanic went down because it was a big fucking iceberg. It wasn't just a tip of an iceberg. It was a huge iceberg and it knocked me out for 5 years. I didn't leave the house. I didn't do anything. So looking at this list of things that I accomplished in 2025, I am so proud of myself because I don't have a mom or dad around going, we're so proud of you, baby. This is what we raised you for. No, I don't have supportive grandparents around me. I don't have supportive aunts and uncles. I don't have supportive friends. It's me alone doing this. And if I had been surrounded by the people in my life that I was raised around, I wouldn't have done any of this. None of this would have happened because I would have been told, oh, that's too hard. Oh, that looks like it's a little out of your roundhouse. I don't know if you can do that. That's a little extreme. What the people who have helped alienate me from just being alone don't realize is that you gave me a freedom that I don't think any of them could even have. I don't think any of the people that have caused this type of life to play out in this way, I don't think they ever understood the amount of freedom they were gifting me because I don't have any worries about who I might upset. I also want to clarify, when I say I don't care about people's opinions of me, especially if they could never walk in my shoes. I do care how my information affects people. I do care if I share something and that in turn hurts my child. I do not want to be someone who says, well, I don't give a fuck, that's how I feel. I want to be able to share my truth in a way that is healthy, not toxic to the rest of the world, but I got my truth out and that's all that matters. That's not who I am. I care how I affect people. I move with intention. I speak with intention. I post with intention. The people who have actively worked to speak on my name do not do these things. They do not think before they speak. They do not think, not just think before they speak. They do not think, how will what I say affect others? If I make this choice, how is that going to negatively affect the people around me? Is it negatively going to affect the people around me or are they going to be cool? What, is there even anything to worry about? Not having people around me that are like yes men, that are patting me on the back when I really needed to take accountability has made me a better person. Being completely, solidly on my own has made me an incredible person. I don't love the things I had to go through to get to this point, to become this woman that I am in 2026, but I'm really proud of myself. Some of the things I accomplished in 2026, I got my passport after saying I would never get on a plane again. And I technically still haven't. It's been like 5 years since I've been on a plane. I went to public events alone. That one's crazy because I was going to public events in a town that I grew up in, okay? I remember someone saying, if you want to be a stand-up comedian, go do open mic night in the town that you grew up in. And the reason that they said that is because if you could go and talk to a group of people that you grew up with, you know, high school, whatever it is, and you don't care how they affect you, what they say, if they validate you, if they don't, then you know you're ready to go speak in front of strangers. And that always stuck with me. So when I was going to these events, it was like, well, I'm not a comedian. I don't really need to even talk to any of these people. I want to connect and network, but I don't need to get up and stand on a stage where a bunch of people are staring at me. And that mentality made it so much easier for me to just randomly go to events alone. And when I say I was going to events alone that no one else was at alone, there was one event in particular in Salem where, everyone was around my age or maybe a little bit older. So it was like the people from high school or maybe some of the upperclassmen was kind of how it felt. But millennials, right? Because we're all adults now. So I remember seeing some people go, okay, I think they're a little bit older, and kind of looking around, and I'm realizing that not one person at this event has showed up alone. No one's shown up alone. I did. I was the only one that showed up alone. So I was really, really proud of myself. And then I let myself stay for as long as I wanted. I chatted, I connected with I think I found another photographer I connected with. It was really fun. I had a great time. And that's not something I ever would have done, ever. And it's much easier to go to like events alone when it's like a big city like Las Vegas or LA, because the odds of you knowing everyone is really pretty low. But it's different when you're in a town where you grew up with people. So that was kind of my whole basis on it was, well, all right, I'm not out there talking to a bunch of people. They're not all sitting here staring at me. It's going to be much easier. I'm in the same area that they are. It's just, I'm just alone. No big deal. So I started a YouTube channel, to tell my truth. You're on this channel now. Hello. That was a big one for me. That was so big for me. I built a whole ass photography brand. Yeah, Verity Visions started in 2025. I said no to events and opportunities I would have killed for at the beginning of my career. Yeah, I absolutely said I'm good and disconnected from several things that probably could have pushed my career a bit further. The connections I would have made would have been amazing. But also, if you have somebody that you're like, I don't really like their behavior. I don't like the way they act. I don't like the way they treat people. I don't like how they are just mean. The one person in particular was just, they had like a rotten heart. They were spiritually unclean. Like their spirit was so hate-filled that they couldn't just find goodness within people. They had to project their hate onto everyone else. And it was like, that person is bad because of this, but they were too unaware. Like they weren't aware enough to see that they were literally just projecting their own trauma and hate onto other people. And so when it got to a point where it was really directed at me, I went, I absolutely don't need to be a part of this. I don't need to be a part of this. I don't need you. I don't need you to do what I'm going to do. And so I disconnected. And that was a big one for me, because if I had been given that opportunity in my 20s, maybe even early 30s, I don't think I would have done it. I would have probably gone toe to toe with the drama, because I was still okay to be around the drama. I'm not like that anymore. I don't want to be anywhere near people who need to get a rise out of someone so they can siphon their energy. That's what this is. Okay, let's talk about energy for a minute. If you are somebody who sees someone that's happy and they're go-lucky and they're doing their thing, and you're out there like, I must destroy them. I must take away their happiness. That is the goal. These people aren't normally outwardly trying to attack. What they do is they usually infiltrate the people's lives and act like friends so they can hopefully learn something that they can use against them. Clean my hands of that shit. And I have noticed that several models are like full stepping back. And I will say, I know it's that one model who's running everything, saying, well, if you work with this photographer, then you can't work with us. As someone who runs a business, I would want nothing to do with that person around my business, around my network, around the people, around my name. That is somebody who's a detriment to your business. And the minute I saw that that was a detriment to my business, I said, I'm gonna cut off right now, because I'm gonna tell you right now, there is no way that any of these people are going to affect me negatively when it comes to my business. The irony too with this particular drama too was that that particular person knew about the shit that I had just dealt with in Vegas a few years previously. I had shared that. I had opened up about that. And so what I'm realizing is when I open up about things that I've dealt with in the past, whether it's a man who's hearing about a past relationship, or it's a woman who is trying to get information or be a friend, if you share the things that someone has done to you in the past, those people will automatically think, I can do that to them too. It already took them out once. Why wouldn't it take them out again? And so I know that without a shadow of a doubt that specific people miscalculated how I would respond to disrespect and attacks on my business. I know for a fact that they fucking miscalculated. I have had everything that belongs to me birthright be ripped out of my arms and taken from me. Even my own child, the right to see my child. I'll be fucking damned if one person is gonna come into my life and take what I've built. My business is my baby. This is all I have left. You're gonna come in and try to fuck it up? Let's go toe to toe. I'll show you how much that won't work for you. And by toe to toe, I mean I'll cut you the fuck off so quick, people will go, what happened to her? Why aren't you connected to her? And then you're gonna have to make up lies about why we're not connected, which is, I'm assuming, exactly what happened. exactly what happened. See, the thing is these people need other people to get them where they want to go. They have to all work together to make sure that they can keep growing, because if they were on their own, they don't have the capacity to build from nothing. So yeah, I said no to events that I definitely wouldn't have said no to otherwise. Let's see, I went back to the gym after 5 years of not going to the gym. When I say that I was at home, I mean, I left the house to go to the dispensary. The only thing I could do was get weed and smoke and come home and hide from people because I had an autistic burnout that was so fucking problematic that going to the gym and having an old lady ask me questions, like basically berating me. She was berating me. I was naked, by the way. It was insane. That, now if somebody did that, I'm big on disrespect to women who are grandmas who think that they can be cruel to women younger than them. Disrespect that old bitch. You gonna act like an old hag, a bitter old woman? They deserve someone to put them in their place. My grandmother would never treat women like that. So anyway, I was berated when I was literally in the middle of taking off my gym clothes and putting on my bikini, so I was literally nude. And this woman came in and berated me, and I literally got dressed so fast, threw everything, and ran out of there. So that was 5 years ago, 2025. I went back to the gym, and that was a big deal for me. I went on a date after 3 years of no dating. That date was a fail and just proved to me that I don't think I'm going to be dating American men. I don't think American men are right for me. And this will piss all of them off. Well, we don't want you anyway. Yeah. You couldn't have me anyway. You couldn't have me, all right? Another thing that's really frustrating is the way that social media has delusionally fed this idea that a man who could never, ever land a woman of certain caliber, they automatically assume because they have access to seeing them on the internet, that equates to them automatically having a chance with the women. So we're seeing a lot of delusion come to the forefront. And I've just decided I don't need to deal with that delusion. So I went on a date after 3 years, and my hinge is, like, it's up, but, like, I'm not. I also had somebody remove my hinge, somebody report my hinge, and then I had to talk to Hinge, like, listen, this is what's going on. And they were like, oh, okay. Well, we'll remove the person that reported you then. So that was cool. Let's see. I got to hug my kiddo after 5 years not seeing my kiddo. That one was pretty big, but then it also led to having to choose to teach a parental lesson that I know isn't being taught with the other parent. But it came with a hard awareness after that. Another thing I did was I read 58 books, which is 57 more books than I read in 2024. I stopped reading just for fun, I would say, when I was pregnant with my kiddo, and my kiddo's 16. So I haven't sat and read books just to enjoy them for 15 years. And this year was a big deal that I decided to just not watch Netflix and just read instead. And that actually was so peaceful. And I found myself with so much less depression than I had in other years. And a big part of that was always being in front of the TV or seeing things in front of the TV and not feeling like I'm doing anything. There's no movement or momentum in my own life. And so that would bring depression, watching other people live their lives, right? So my big thing was, if you don't want that, we need to not allow that in this year. So, and that was 2025, which also has rolled over into 2026. Let's see, what else? Spoke with my mother in person, and we both agreed that we were no longer in each other's lives. As far as I'm concerned, my mother's buried, and I should be buried to her too. I don't think that's the case. I think that at every chance she gets, she brings me into the conversation, probably because no one cares about her when she talks about herself. But that was for us to go, okay, we're not in each other's lives anymore. We had always had a rough relationship, but for us to both go, yeah, we don't, you're no longer my mother. You're cut off. We don't, no. That was big. It was big for me because I needed to vocalize that. I needed to say those things. I needed to get them out so I could let go. As a mother, I can't understand her because from a child's perspective, I've shared for years and 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 fucking years what I would need for us to have a relationship. And she didn't want to respect those boundaries. So good riddance. All right, let's see, what else? I have really bad handwriting. I played flute for a very long time. They say that musicians and doctors have bad handwriting. I'm really bad at it. Went on a date, and I mean, I think one of the coolest things for 2025 was that my kiddo came back. And while I'm not positive that it was for the right reasons, being able to hug my kid after not seeing him for 5 years, not hugging him, that was big. I was in shock. I was absolutely in shock. I was in shock for actually a few days. Yeah. See, when you've dealt with a lot of trauma, if you've had a lot of trauma, PTSD, complex PTSD, your nervous system, when there's an exciting thing that happens, depending on how much trauma you've had, and I've had enough trauma that this is what happens. Your nervous system can't register, this is excitement, this is good. It just registers a shift, and a big shift. And so excitement becomes danger. Excitement becomes an issue with the nervous system because it's a change. It's an instant change. It's a very fast change. And so if my kiddo's watching, I want to again say that was shock. My inability to react. There were no tears. There was nothing. It was shock. I was just shocked, babe. I was really shocked. I'm having a really hard time with this. I feel like I can't be the only one who's experiencing things like this. I had to stop that. I don't want to get too into the feels right now. I still have some stuff to do today. I don't want to get myself all worked up. Another thing I wanted to cover, because I know I have a lot of narcissists watching my account. Hello. So in the world of a narcissist, if you open up, if you are raw, if you share things that they would deem as a weakness, they are in their minds clocking how they can take you out. And I'd like to say to the narcissist, I have already thought of all these things. Don't you think if I was going to speak on these things that I have looked at all outlets and all possibilities, and I've gone, it's still worth it. It's still worth me speaking up. All those avenues of possibilities, all the things that could possibly happen, it's still worth it. Because the silence became fucking violence to my soul. And that silence allowed people to continue a narrative, treatment, behavior that was never okay, that is quite literally illegal. And somehow it still just happened. So when I look at this list of things that I've accomplished, I'm filled with pride because that wasn't something that I thought that I could do on my own. I'm gonna be real. I didn't think I could get through all of it. I didn't think I was going to come out the other side. I'll be fully honest. I thought they took me out. I thought this last time I came home from Vegas and I couldn't leave the house, I thought they had won. 5 years. 5 years I was silent. I didn't post. I didn't create. I didn't show myself to the world. 5 years. Look at me now. So yeah, I spent my New Year's... Actually, it was New Year's Day. I had originally had plans to go visit with my girlfriend and her family. And I went, you know what? I have a lot of stuff that I need to get done before the end of the year. It's kind of like all compiled at one time, and I need to do this stuff first. So, and then also I needed... can't go to the DMV until Monday, but I need to go to the DMV and get a real ID because I wasn't able to do that right before Christmas, we got hit with some pretty bad flooding, and where the DMV was, where I was going to go, I was like, I don't know if they're flooded or not. I don't think they got flooded, but the water did rise. So I just stayed home throughout all those days where we were having floods because where we're at, we're on a hill. So thankfully we don't have a flood issue, but my neighbor, 4 houses down the hill, the bottom of his house flooded. And so I was walking my dog and walked by him literally building a trench out from under his house to where the regular water usually flows. I mean, it was pretty deep. So he had to have been out there for a while. Felt really bad for him because he was out there in the rain, but apparently they got it all handled. So it's interesting how quickly it can flood here, even though it rains a lot. 5 trillion gallons of water was how much water we got for those atmospheric rivers after it was all said and done. So I didn't end up going to the DMV. And so I'm going to do that on Monday, go get the real ID handled. So it was also another thing. I was like, I probably shouldn't drive over there right now. I don't want to get pulled over and risk another, no operator's license when I absolutely have one. So I'm going to go to the DMV. I don't think I have anything else super planned right now. I've kept my month really open. I'm doing things way different than what I was doing last year. Because again, last year, it's my first year as a photographer. So I was kind of just trying things out, seeing what I liked, what I didn't like, what worked, what what didn't work. And I'm recognizing that in the area that I'm in, if I actually want to build and scale out, I have to shift the way things are being offered. Because if it's just me against other photographers, I'm working against photographers that went to high school with a lot of these people. They literally grew up together, and then the pandemic happened and they all started companies together, and now they're all besties and they're all loyal to each other, which is cool, I guess. I've never been somebody that has that. I've never been the one that has lots of friends, so I don't know what that's like. I don't know what that's like. Yeah, so 2026. I feel like there was something else I wanted to talk about and I'm forgetting about it. Like, I'm forgetting it. There was something else that I really wanted to talk about. So I'm like, what was it? Is it gonna come to me? Can you just speak it? Yeah, fuck. I don't know. There was something else I wanted to talk about. I'm totally spacing on it, so I guess that'll be another video for another day. Yeah, if you're here, Happy New Year. You know, thanks for taking the time to listen. Also, thank you to everyone who's taken the time to subscribe. I'm not convinced that it's not just a bunch of people who hate me that are just, they want to have access when it goes live. I'm not convinced. I've had a lot of problems with people who are immature and take my removal of my own energy very personally. I think that actually causes more problems than anything. If I were to just stay connected to them and allow them to just be weird, they wouldn't even think twice about it. But it's my ability to take control of a situation and say, absolutely not, I'm not going to stand for that disrespect. I think a lot of people in general are just used to being disrespected. I think that disrespect has been normalized, and a lot of people, instead of sticking up for themselves, say, well, if I don't say anything, this will afford me this, this, and this. I don't give a fuck what the perk is. If you disrespect me, you're not connected to me. It's very simple. Be a good human. Be a kind human. Don't bother people that aren't bothering you, you know? I think my biggest one is like, it is so much energy to go out of your way to try to harm another person for whatever reason. It takes so much energy to wake up from your day and go, I'm going to cause problems to this person. That's a level of energy and dedication that I don't have for other people. Call me stuck up, call me a bitch, call me whatever you want. I am never gonna put more energy and attention into another person that doesn't even know I exist. Make it make sense. Because when I try to think about it, it doesn't make sense. If I don't like a person, I remove all of my focus. I remove my energy. I literally remove everything that is me, that I'm no longer there. The minute I see behavior or human treatment that I think is absolutely disgusting or unhealthy or toxic, I remove myself. In 2026, I just want to suggest choosing authenticity in how you feel. Not smiling and laughing at a joke if it's not funny. Not smiling at someone because they expect you to. Be authentic. So many people are spending time living a lie that they don't even know what their authenticity is. They don't know what is authentic to them because they have lived for so long under the guise of loving whatever they're doing, loving being with whoever it is. They don't realize that they've given up the little parts of themselves that make them who they are. And that's why there are so many people out and about in the world that are absolutely terrible humans. They're unhappy with something within themselves. And instead of doing that work, they're attacking others. So again, I want to loop around. If there are any models that I'm no longer working with or no longer tagged, it's probably because they showed me what type of human they are. And I've been contemplating actually starting another YouTube channel that's for my photography, but not for my photography, where I'm speaking on things as a photographer. Because I talk about a lot of stuff here, but I don't think that it's being seen by people that like maybe could use the information, right? Like I don't know that other photographers or other models are here beyond the ones that hate me and are watching to cause problems. Just a really weird thing. You have a full 24 hours, same 24 hours I have, and you spend any one of those hours focused on somebody that you don't like. That's weakness. That's mental weakness. Anybody that does this is weak. Not really trying to be a bitch, but me telling the truth usually comes off that way. So I just think that 2025 was great. It sucks that my kiddo and I are where we are right now, but I have full faith that at some point the truth will be something that he's open to, not the story that keeps him comfortable. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna go. I do want to say I'm really proud of myself. I've smoked longer than my kid's been alive. Like, I think I stopped when my kiddo was born. And even for a little bit when I was pregnant, I smoked. And I know people are like, what? I checked with my doctor. I had a really hard time eating. And so when I was pregnant, I was really, really skinny. And the doctor said, if you do not gain weight by this date, we are going to have to put you in a hospital and feed you through a tube. And I said, the reason I'm not able to eat is because I'm not smoking. And the doctor said, you can smoke until this time. Let's hope that will get the weight on. By that time, I was able to get the weight back on. I wouldn't suggest that for all parents. That was me doing what I had to do because my body was literally revolting against me and I didn't want to lose my child. I did what I needed to do. What worked for me may not work for other people. And again, I wouldn't suggest doing anything like that with your baby. Anyway, I digress. I've smoked for a very long time. This year, my biggest New Year's resolution was I'm just going to stop. And it's been hard. It's been hard. Let me tell you how often I load up a bowl in my Puffco if somebody says some dumb shit and I just have to let me just 2 seconds and I'll come back all calm. Now I am forcing myself to become that calm for myself. And so yeah, 2026, I'm fully raw dogging life. Yeah, I might be crazy. Have you seen it out there? So we'll see. We'll see if that lasts because I'm not going to push myself for something if it makes me sick or it makes it so I can't eat. But I think I've been okay with eating. I think I'm all right with eating and stuff. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Although, I don't know, I've only eaten once today. So that was the big resolution. And it isn't even so much like I want to quit. It's I want to move to Europe. And they don't have dispensaries like that in Europe. They do not have dispensaries like that in Europe. And honestly, I don't think I'm gonna need to smoke every day when I leave the States. I think that I'm constantly overstimulated. And so there's this like balancing act because I don't take any medication for my autism. And I don't want to. I want to learn how to exist as I am without relying on anything. That way, if something happens and I want to go travel somewhere or go somewhere else, it's not like everything's screwed up and I'm sick for a week because I can't smoke some weed, you know? It's become very normal for me. And I am a whole ass adult on my own. No one tells me what to do. I do whatever I want. So this was me coming to the conclusion that that, and then also what's the one thing that you haven't tried in past years? What's the one thing you haven't tried? What's the one thing you haven't done? I haven't quit smoking. I've always smoked. So now I'm curious, how much further can I get without that taking precedence? Not that it takes precedence, without that being my vice. Yeah, I've gotten lazy in dealing with my emotions. And this is me being accountable for that. This is me holding myself fully accountable for that. And I can't even say, well, I'm not gonna be able to eat because right now I'm sitting here and I'm hungry. So I think I'll be okay. I think also the reason I'm able to stop is that I don't have anyone in my life that is causing nervous system roller coasters. And when I think back to before I left my kiddo's dad, there were lots of nervous system roller coasters. He wasn't a calm person for me to be around. It was always really high and always really low. The highs were high, the lows were low. And I realize and recognize now that even if I had stayed with him, we wouldn't have stayed together because I saw kind of as my dad began to get sicker, I saw the ways that my autonomy was being ignored for what he wanted. And I think subconsciously I knew if I chose to stay around him when my dad passed, I would be stuck with him. And that terrified me. I remember him saying, I can't give you the life you want. And I remember every time he said that, I verbatim said, I do not need you to give it to me. I'll get it for us. I just need you to stand by my side. That somehow upset his ego. I know now as an adult, that's not someone I could ever be happy with. That's not someone I could have ever been happy with. And subconsciously I knew that. I don't know how I knew that, but subconsciously I knew that. So while I was leaving and running because my dad was sick, I was also running from the idea of being locked with someone like that. And my choice to leave him is what caused his choice to keep my child from me out of retaliation. It had nothing to do with me not being a safe person because when he had his first wife and they wanted to go do things, he would drop off not just my child, but his first wife's child together so that I can watch them. So the argument of me not being safe flew out the window when I started babysitting both kids. Now, again, If I had known then, I probably would have done things a lot differently. I definitely would never have given so much control when it comes to my child, because I originally was the one with all the control. And the need to take control and keep control of my child as if my child is somehow an extension of him instead of a child is what has always pushed me away, because I've never, ever aligned to Eve's story, just blindly submitting. Now Lilith chose her freedom and lost her children and her spot in heaven because of it. I have always aligned to Lilith's story. So I say all this to say, I say that so much. I say all this to say, I will not be slowing down or silencing myself. I'm only gonna keep talking. I'm gonna get louder, because the more I heal, the more I see, and the more I feel like the world needs to hear these things, not because I want to be heard, but because I know I am not the only one dealing with this shit. I am not the only woman kept from her child out of retaliation. Britney Spears comes to mind. Britney Spears is a perfect example of that. The way that both of her children hate her because of the story that was told. That one breaks my heart. That one breaks my heart so much more than my own story, because we all saw Britney and everything she went through. I relate an uncomfortable amount to Britney's story. The ability for a man to take a child from the mother out of retaliation is so high in the States. It's one of the reasons I don't want to stay here anymore. I want to have a family. I want a husband I love. I want to build a life. And it's impossible to do that safely in the United States of America right now. And that breaks my heart. But I'm not going to dwell on it. Just like I'm not going to dwell on the things people have done to me in my past. I don't dwell. If I dwell, I don't get anything done. I remember my mom used to say, I don't know how you go through. I don't know how you can withstand everything that you're withstanding. She used to say, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. And you're damn right you wouldn't be able to do it, because you're half the woman I am. When you move in integrity and you are authentic, no matter what that means for the outside world viewing you, you become a person that cannot be controlled. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, you are going to enrage a large group of people that are actively doing anything in their power to stay out of being in integrity. So this is kind of long, kind of all over the place, but I just kind of wanted to catch up, get some thoughts off my head. And yeah, I'm gonna go down and make some salmon and Brussels sprouts and rice. I make the best salmon. I make the best salmon. It's literally all I know how to cook, but that one dish is amazing. So actually my goal is to learn another dish this year. That way I'll have 2 slamming dishes. All right, you guys have a good one.